And oh, I see. Some people are hiding their images.
Steve's gone. What happened to Steve?
Hi, Ben. Hi.
So yeah, I'm recording this now, and what the topic today is one I've been asked quite a few questions about recently, which is about team games scoring and how that differs from duplicate scoring. I'm also going to just mute you all temporarily, and if you like, if you have a question at some point, you can unmute yourselves if you wish to talk. But I'm going to just try if I can find the option to mute everyone. I can't seem to find it at the moment, but oh, there we go. All right, so I'm muting you all temporarily, and so what I'm going to do is show you how team games work, how if you're playing a team game you can check on your progress, and then look at how the scoring works and how it's different with team games versus the games that we normally play in clubs, which is pairs games, and also how that should affect your strategy. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen with you and bring up the bridge base screen. Oops. So can you all see that screen, the screen you get when you log in? Can I get a thumbs up from you? Yeah, okay. So you can't. Can you see? Yeah. Let me just bring that up. Okay, so can you all see the Bridge Base Online screen there? Okay. So this is the screen you get when you log in, and I just want to show you what it's like for when you play in a team game. And I'm just going to start off here clicking on competitive, and then team match. And I'm just going to find a team match that's in progress so we can see what it's like when you're actually playing. So I'm going to click on running. And here I'm just going to find a team game that's already in progress. And you can see Bridge Base Online has a lot of team games in progress. Some of them have got a lot of people watching, kibitzing there. So that might be some famous people playing or some important match being played. We're going to, I'm just going to try looking at joining one team game so you can see what you see when you're actually playing. So I've clicked there on table 1, and we'll just see what this team is doing. Okay, so this is a team game in progress, and this is what you'll see if you're playing in a team game. You'll see something like this. You'll see just obviously once your forehand, if you're playing, you'll just be playing one of the hands. But if you're watching a team game, this is what you'll see. And what's interesting on this when you're playing a team game is, first of all, if you click on the tab you're on, like if I click on messages there, it will remove the messages information and make the screen that much bigger. Or if I click on another tab, history, it will show what's been going on at this table. It's a bit like the video. So here is a very useful display to have if you're actually playing in a team game. In other words, if you click on the history tab, you can see now that we're playing board 10 there, and it's got a result of all the other boards that have been played so far. At the bottom here, and if you're playing a team game, you have this display. By the way, you are on some reason, but but that's what it should look like. The normal display. Okay, so that's what the buttons look like when it's on a small stage. So you can see what has happened. And when this is playing a team of 4. You have one of you, you and your partner are playing at one table, and your other teammates are playing in the other table. Now, I can have a look at, for example, some of these are what we call flat. So like board 9, for example, we played this in 1 no trump by East, making +1. East-West got a score of 110 for that. At the other table, you'll see it was played in 3, sorry, that's gone away. It was played in 3 clubs by East, making a score of 110. So that's a difference in points. You take one score from the other, so 120 minus 110 is a difference of 10 points. And that's how you can compare the scores, except these difference in points is then translated into something called IMPs, International Match Points. Now, in the early days of 30 years ago, you just compared your score with the other score, and that was the difference. But they introduced this scaling factor, which is IMP scoring, to make the difference in scores a little bit less for high scores. And you can actually, sorry, I'm just going to try and bring this up here. Put that there. Okay, you actually see this scaling factor every time when you look at a scorecard. So this is a scorecard that you should all be familiar with from playing in bridge clubs everywhere. And at the bottom, it has this IMP scale, which scales the difference in points to a number of IMPs. And what it does is it just introduces a factor so that it's not so extreme, so it doesn't go so extreme. Because they found that in some situations, suppose you won a board by, say, 1,500 points, it would be very, very hard to recover from that. So they've introduced this scaling factor, which you see every day. And that's what that IMP score is there. And I've also got it here on display in a slightly clearer form. Okay. So if we go back to looking at a particular hand, you'll see that this score here gets converted into IMPs and put in this column here. And let's try and explain that. Let's find an example. Let's look at this score here. On board 4, we did very well. We bid and made 4 spades +2. That gave us a score of 680. Now, by putting my mouse there, I can see that at the other table, it was played the other way. 5 clubs doubled by East, which was -200. So what you do is you put those two scores together, and that comes up to the correct number of IMPs. So on this one, we gained 680, and then we get another plus. And then we gained 680. At the other table, the other table, they got -200 by East. Okay, and then you combine those two scores, and it goes into the number of IMPs. So we can look at some other ones too. So here's one where, for example, we played it in 6 spades -1. We lost 50 points for that. Okay, and then we also lost 450 points because the other pair, our opponents, made 4 spades +1, which is 450. So you combine those two scores there, which I think is 500, and then if you look at the table there, you'll see that if there's a difference of 500 to 590 points, it's 11 IMPs, which is I think what we just saw there. So that's how you compare the scores, and that's how you can keep track of your scores during the game. Okay. At the end of the game, if you've played a hand, what you can do is change this display to look at your own results. So if we go to, let's see, I think it's count. Oh no, sorry, we need to go back to history. If you go to history and then click on recent tournaments, then you should see all the tournaments you've played in, including any team game. And you can click on this game that you played in. It will bring up a similar result, and you can click on this blue results button to see the results in a slightly different format. Here it's got the total result as a percentage. And if you click on result, you'll see a display a bit like this, which shows you the boards that were played, the results each time, and the total scores. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about that? Anyone like to unmute themselves and ask any questions at this point?
Yes, Tony, I've got a question. It's Virginia.
Yes.
When you're playing just against another pair,
Yes.
you and another pair, not a team, not gentle duplicate, nothing, you still get the imps going up and down.
Right.
What are they adding to, comparing to?
Well, so there, that is comparing with other people who've played the same hand. So they give you a board, and at the end of it, you'll see that it's been played many other times, and again, you can compare how you did in terms of imps compared with how other people did. And I think it uses an average score. So it uses like what's an average score, and then it compares yours to that and gives you a number of imps based on that. Okay, any other questions? So so this is what you can look at. You can
Sorry, Tony, can I just ask one question?
Yeah, yeah.
What's the tactic to do well in imps?
Right, so I'll talk about that now. Yeah.
Can I just ask a very quick question?
Yes, yes.
In a team game, does the other team, in other words, you've got your two members of your team are playing another game, do they play the same boards as you?
Yes, yes.
It is the same boards,
yes.
But I and my partner would be playing north and south and west and east for the other two members of my team. Is that?
That's right. Yes, that's right.
Thank you.
So that's what this is trying to say. For example, on this screen here, you'll see that Team D has got these two people playing east-west at this table, and their teammates are playing north-south at the other table. So so it's how your team does compared with how the other team does. So the other thing I wanted to talk about. So what's interesting here in terms of tactics is that you can see these differences in imps happen mainly on things like one side bidding game and the other side not making game. But you'll see a number of situations where there's a very small difference of score that doesn't make much difference. Let's have a look at this one. This is one where one side played this in 3-no trump, board 6. 3-no trump by east making, scored 600. The other side played 4 spades by west, also making, scored 620. That's a difference of just 20 points, which is only 1 imp. So it doesn't particularly matter, small differences. Another one here is right at the bottom. 1-no trump making was 90. 1-no trump plus 1 is 120. A difference of only one imp, which is 30 points. So these small differences, like for an over trick, don't really matter very much. And this is in direct contrast to pairs game, where making an over trick can result in a big difference in your score. And I've got an example of a hand here. This was actually played last Monday, and I thought I'd look at a hand, hand 9. I'm just going to bring it up here, just as an example of this. So this is a board where you can see the traveller here. Nearly everyone played this in 4 spades, okay? 4 spades was the most common contract, with one exception. And let's look at the scores on this. Well, obviously the bad scores for people who played it in 4 spades were people who went down. So if you went down 2, you scored 0. If you went down 1, you scored 2. And likely East-West got a good score for defeating you there. Most of the other scores are in 4 spades just making, and that you can see is a fairly average score. It's 420 is 10-8. But a couple of people managed an over trick here. Just 30 points gives them 450, and that gives them a big advantage in terms of match point or pair scoring. So if you were playing this hand in a team game, it wouldn't really matter whether you made that extra trick or not. But in a pairs game, it makes a big difference. There they get a top score of 17 for making that extra trick. So that leads us on to some advice about how to play, how to bid, and how it sometimes differs in pairs games versus team games. So let me bring up that slide. Let's wait for that to come up. And I've just got a one-page slide to try to summarize the difference between team games, which is imp scoring, and pairs game, where it's normally match point scoring. So the first thing is that over tricks are not important in team games. They make a small difference of 1 or 2 points, but in pairs games, they are very important. So if you can make one more trick than everyone else, you'll get a very good score. In team games, it's often a good idea to go for the safest possible game, whereas in pairs games, it's often good to go for the best scoring game. In other words, contracts like 5 of a minor are often a poor choice in pairs games if 3 no trump is a possibility, because they will score worse than, for example, 3 no trump plus 1 will do better than if you just make 5 clubs or even 5 clubs plus 1. But in teams game, go for whatever you think is the safest contract. Don't worry about scoring a few extra points. In team games, slam bonuses and game bonuses are where the points are really made, especially when you're vulnerable and you get a game bonus of 500 rather than 300. That's very valuable. But in pairs games, not such a big deal. And the general advice is don't bid close games if you're in pairs or match point scoring, or don't bid close slams. Especially don't risk a risky grand slam. Whereas in team games, that could be a good strategy. As I was saying, part scores are not that important in team games, although you don't want to lose too many of them. But in match point games, in pairs games, part scores are very important. And in particular, this is where the advice not to let them play in a low-level suit contract, especially in a pairs game, is often good advice. In teams game, you should be a bit wary about sacrificing, making an bidding, especially if you're going to get doubled and could lose a very large score. Very hard to recover from that. Whereas in match points, it's not such a bad idea to sacrifice more often. You may push your opponents higher, and even if you get defeated and lose 1,100 points, it won't have such a big effect on your overall score because it's just one hand. And equally in defense, there's a little bit of guidance there, that in imp scoring, your aim is to defeat the contract. Even if you play aggressively and risk giving away an over trick, that's often a good choice. Whereas in pairs game, giving away an over trick by trying to be over aggressive, helping declare and make extra tricks, is often a poor strategy, and often the advice is to defend a bit more passively. Okay, so that sort of summarizes some of the differences. We're playing a normal pairs game today, but Fridays is the day when we play the team games on BBO. Does anyone have some questions at that point?
Tony, can I ask you?
Yes.
Yeah, the running total that you see when you're playing the team games,
Yes.
so is that the running total, total of your table and the table that you're paired with?
Yes, it is. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So
And, right. The other thing I was going to ask was, are you only compared to one other table? All the tables are not compared in the end or anything, just the two tables are in.
yeah, so for a team game, it's just you and the other pair, the other table.
Right.
If you're playing online in another format, then you'll be able to compare your results with others who've played the same hand. So many others. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, anyone? I'll give it a minute, because normally when I ask that, there's a little gap between people replying.
Tony,
Yeah.
some of these players, on their name, they've got a bold number next to them.
Yes.
What does that mean?
I think that's a reflection of how many points they have won on BBO. So some of the people today, I think, have played enough times, and I think if you play in tournaments where you have to pay, those count towards that. So it's a reflection of how many times they've won points, how many points they've won. So if you like, it's BBO's own point system. So I think some of our players are on 2 or 2+, which means it's over 2, and you can see some of these people have got higher numbers, so they've been playing a long time and been doing well.
Thank you.
Do you think, Tony, I'm being a bit cynical, but do you think it's quite smart of BBO because it encourages people to pay, to keep paying money to play all the tournaments?
I think so, yes. I mean, if you, well, I mean, probably people don't start playing in order to get to get a higher ranking, but I suppose it's nice to see some reflection. It's a bit like EBU master points, isn't it? Yes.
Thank you.
Tony?
Yes, hello.
This is not a bridge question, it's a technique question. I find that I get the people's gallery on my right of my screen, which covers up some of what you're talking about. Is there any way of getting rid of that?
You can minimize it.
Well, they are minimized, but they're still taking up half the screen you're talking about.
I think there's a little icon, little line. I can see one to minimize it, the short horizontal line.
Oh, you mean the participants one?
Yeah, I think you can minimize that, and then it becomes a very small display.
No, it's got invite, mute me, raise hand.
It's for me. It's in the top left-hand corner of the screen.
Oh, I see what you mean. No, it's not worked.
All right. Anyone else got any?
Thank you.
Anyone else got any bridge questions?
You just showed the list of the 5 different things between team games and pair games.
Yeah.
Are you able I was in the middle of writing it all down. Are you able to share that again, please?
Yes, well, I'm recording this this video, and you can see it again there. Yeah. Okay. I'll just put it up there for your display. Oops, sorry, it's ended. Get that. There we go. Yeah, I'll just leave that there.
Thank you.
There are some, I think I sent out a link to a longer article in my email. There's like 4 pages of advice that goes into this in a bit more detail.
I found it.
Better than a minor game.
Any other questions, anyone? If that's the end of it, I will end the meeting, or rather, I will leave it. But if anyone wants to, help anyone else, like Francis was asking how to minimize something.
I found it. It's at the top.
Okay,
Under
good.
view options.
Okay, great. Oh, thank you. Hope
Yeah.
that's helped someone else.
Only I can't get back now.
These damn computers, eh? Anyone else have any questions? I'm going to stop my sharing at the moment. You'll be able to see me.
No. All right.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank
Okay,
you.
well, thank you. I hope to see some of you online. And remember, today it's a normal pairs game, so all this about team games doesn't really apply. You just want to, this in the team game, you want to try to make over tricks, if possible. Okay.
Thank you, Tony.
All right. Thank you all very
Tony.
much.
Thank
We'll
you
see
very
later.
much.
Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Tony.
Bye-bye.
I'll leave
Bye.
it on for a minute in case you want to chat with each other, and then I'll end this meeting in a couple of minutes. All right. You can see I've had my hair cut today. Okay, take care then. I'll see you all another time.